I've got 5 unique reverb techniques to share with you today that I use on every single mix session that I get to work on. Here we go. Low-pass filters. You're probably already familiar with using high-pass filters on reverb effects, but it is also important to know low-pass filters as well. They can help shape the reverb sound that you're looking for and what's gonna fit right. This comes in very handy on vocals, strings, guitars, horns, anything that can build up in the higher frequencies and accumulate too much of that shrill and harshness. Adding reverb to these instruments can really bring them to life, but we need to coat them with reverb and not splash them with it and expect it to sound right. And adding a low pass filter to these instruments before it hits the reverb effect can achieve this. Let's take a listen to these acoustic guitars. This is a simple acoustic recording. There's only 7 audio tracks. So I thought this would be a good one to kind of show you some of these reverb techniques. And I'm just going to let you listen to that without any of the reverb first.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee.
So there you go, acoustic guitars, and we want to add a little bit of reverb to that to just kind of fill out the space a little bit, make everything sound a little bit more pleasant, more intimate. So I've got a send, go into our acoustic guitar reverb aux track here. Got that set to 0 because I want to be able to use the aux track fader as my return back into the mix. And here is our filters. Of course, we all know it's a good idea to wipe off some of the low end going into a reverb so the kind of space that gets built up, we're not adding reverb to that to spread even more. What we're talking about here is a low pass filter. So I'm going to have that off for now. We're going to bring in the reverb. And this is going into both of those acoustic guitars.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee.
All right, so you can hear that room sound. I'm just using simple stock reverb here from Pro Tools. We've got a room, a large room, just so you can hear what the effect is doing. Probably wouldn't go that high on this type of a song, but for this exercise, we want to be able to hear what we're doing. So let's go ahead and now go back and forth to see what the low pass filter is doing.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee. If you find the people to be rude there, your boy is awaiting.
So as you can see, when we bypass the low pass filter, the guitars, they spread out a lot from that reverb. We like the sound of the reverb, but it just kind of starts to float away and sounds like we're more of in a garage setting than, you know, a nice, quiet, lush sounding effect. So the low pass filter is really great for things like that. And it helps bring the vocal out a little bit better instead of getting buried and washed out by the effect. Now, using a low pass filter also on your drum reverbs, especially if you're using a room to kind of send all of your drums to, the overhead mics may get a little bit washy and very shrill. And then that reverb that you're adding can kind of it just starts to spread that all around, and you don't really want that. And using a low pass filter on a drum reverb track will also work very nicely. automate your reverbs. A song has different parts from start to end. Instrument sections come and go throughout. There's quiet parts, louder parts, from intimate to swells into a very dynamic sounding section. So as the sound changes, we should adjust the reverbs with it. This will help glue the song together and fill in those gaps. Say, for instance, when the chorus comes in and the volume increases. And certain things like the lead vocal will get louder, and so does the music, but we also need to adjust our effects and our reverb effects to accommodate that lift in volume. If you've got your lead vocal coming up and you don't have your reverb coming up as well, then there's going to have a gap between the two, and it's just really going to sound like you're singing over a karaoke track. So we will adjust the reverb volume to accommodate where the lead vocal goes. Automating your reverbs will also help at the end of phrases. Just like you automate your lead vocal or any other instruments, we're helping with fade ins and fade outs, because the main thing that we're trying to achieve here is to have everything sitting properly and where it's supposed to be. The way I like to automate reverbs is to just do it directly onto the reverb track itself. Sometimes at the end of phrases, we want the reverb to carry out. That is going to be a part of an effect that we're trying to put in. Sometimes it's just to follow along with the volume automation that you have on a lead vocal. And other times we're just trying to help things not sound so cut off at the end. So this helps with effects, correction, and just overall placement. Using mono reverbs is a great idea. Just a simple plate reverb. I use it on just about every single mix session that I get, and it's the very first effect that I'm going to be adding to my lead vocals. So I've got my lead vocal right here. That is going through all of my parallel processing here for my lead vocals. I've also got that going through my parallel vocal bus, and if this is something that you think you might want to know more about, I've got a video that shows you how to set this up. I also have available my entire mix template. So everything that you see from here on the VCA faders, all the way down to our stereo bus and our print tracks here, all available now that you can download. I've got videos also explaining how to set that up. It also comes with a PDF so that you'll know how to route all of your audio tracks that you put into your mix session and combine that with this mix template. Quite a few of you have picked that up. Thank you very much for that. I will leave that in the description so you can have that, own it, customize it, and get ready to go, because I have not heard this song in a long time. This was a mix from about 6-7 years ago, and when I put it back in here into my new mix template going through this parallel vocal process, I was amazed at how completely different it sounded, and it was a million times better. This vocal was recorded with a SM57. Yeah, in a closet. Doesn't sound like it though, does it? So check that out. All right, back to mono reverbs. I've got my lead vocal going through its parallel processing here, and the way that I like to set up my effects with my lead vocal is that I have them all set up here on my clean bus. So I've got going through all of the effects here that I've already got set up in my template. So our mono reverb here, got it all the way up, because I'm going to be using this fader as my return. And now for the mono, I've just got a plate here, like I've been liking this one so far. I will have a different plate than the stereo reverb. So I went with the A reverb here on the EMT 140, and I will play this and let you hear what that sounds like.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee.
So it's just kind of filling in on, right there. The vocal is sitting on top. We've got some pre-delay on that, but it's just kind of allowing us to have just a little bit of air underneath the lead vocal. And I really like to start off with that on a lot of mixes, especially things like this. So I'll I'll A and B that once again so you can kind of see what it's doing. I'll even turn up the return a little bit more.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee. If you find the people to be rude there, your boy is awaiting in genteel company.
So it's just softening it up for us. It's giving us a little bit better idea of where this is going to go, where we want to take it, what kind of effects we want to add. Do we want to add, a little bit bigger stereo reverb to that, or do we want to keep it this way? I just really like to start off with mono reverbs. It just gives me a little bit of an idea of where we want to go with it, and it makes it sound, not so dry. I mean, that's basically the entire job of adding reverbs to vocals, is so that it just doesn't have that karaoke type dryness where the vocal just sits on a bunch of music. Using mono reverbs and stereo reverbs together. I guess you could kind of see where the mono reverb technique is going to go. Sometimes there will be cases where you will just have the mono reverb. I think that I have read before that quite a few of Taylor Swift's older records had just a mono reverb on them. So that's something that you could try out, see if it works on certain songs that you get. In other cases, you can combine the two. You could start out with a mono reverb in, say, the first verse, and then when the chorus comes along, you'll switch to a stereo reverb. And then another section, you may combine the two, where you have the mono reverb and a stereo reverb. Now, when using this technique, what I would suggest to do is for the mono reverb, like I said, I've got the A plate going on here. And then for my stereo reverb, I'll use a different plate. Now, this is obviously if you're going to be using the same reverb plugin, but change it up. I could go and have my reverb here, and then also add in my chamber, which I will go ahead and add a low pass filter to. So here's with just the mono reverb, and I'm going to slide in the stereo chamber reverb.
And good night from Paris is what you said, dear. And you're not in Paris, Tennessee. If you find the people to be rude there, your boy is awaiting in genteel company.
So as you can see, it really helps with the movement. It helps with the emotion that you're trying to help with the song achieve. I really love that technique. I use it on just about every single mix. Especially stuff like this. This is the more of the style that I get. I get a little bit more organic style of music, things that are, recorded, and not just loops put in. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is something that just I feel like helps with the whole vibe and the recording, and how we're just trying to glue that all together and really bring in that emotion. That's all we're really trying to do as mix engineers anyways, right? Chamber reverbs. And since we've brought in the chamber on our vocal, let's go ahead and talk about this separate chamber reverb track that I have set up. This is also in my mix template. What I like to do to kind of glue everything together. We were talking about a lot of these tracks, they're recorded, so they're organic. But a lot of times we don't get to record everyone in the same room. Sometimes, whether it's the space that we have or the resources that we have, And a lot of times things are being recorded remotely. So you may sit down with your guitar or piano or keyboard and come up with something, and then you want to have some other guitars put on it, some drums put on it, some background vocals. So what I like to do to help that sound a little bit more like it was all recorded live and in the same room is that I'll add a chamber reverb. I choose the chamber because I like it. You can do this with rooms. The stock plug-in with Pro Tools right here, they have a couple of room options, and you can make that, big or small. For here, we're going to be doing everything in the box. So we have to come up with ways to accommodate for that and to try to get things to sound like they were all kind of recorded together in the same room. And one thing that I have found that really helps with that is adding a chamber to certain tracks. I'll do this with just about everything but bass. I kind of like bass to be its own thing. And even if it was being recorded in the same room, then the bass would be going through a DI and I would have a mic set up to the amplifier itself. And I am just a bigger fan of a DI bass sound than an amp. But you work with what you have. For this case, if it was drums, then I would probably have all of my drums sent to a drum track, a drum bus, a drum aux, and then I would have a chamber send on that. So what I like to do is to add a chamber send on all of the tracks that I want to be thrown into that room sound. And I'm going to be adjusting these with the send faders instead of using the actual chamber fader for that, because we're adding a lot of different things and I don't want to just have one fader to adjust multiple instruments. So there you go, you've got a room sound, and now everything is kind of getting glued together like you've had a recording session live in all one room. And those are just a few ways that I like to use reverbs in my own mix sessions. I hope you were able to find something helpful in this video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below if you have anything else that you'd like to add. I'd love to hear from you. Also, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, then you will love this custom playlist that I've made just for you that features my most popular mixing technique videos that so many people are finding helpful. Thanks again for watching, y'all. We'll talk soon.